So, after a brief period of independence, the Ukrainian People's Republic was crushed by the Bolsheviks and disappeared into Soviet control in 1919. Yeah, at this time Eastern Europe was in chaos. Empires had fallen and new nations were fighting to define their borders and their future. Among them was young Ukrainian Republic. But what if Ukraine survived? In reality, the Ukrainian People's Republic was collapsing. It's under siege from every side. Red armies storming from the east, white generals from the south, and Stalin's own ambitions in the west. But one shift changed it all: international recognition. France and Britain, terrified of Bolshevism, decide to back Ukraine as a buffer. French arms arrive in Odessa and British military advisors take posts in Kiev. Ukrainian troops, better equipped and better led, hold key lines along the Dnipro, direct offensive stalls, Kiev holds, and Ukraine survives. For now. But what next? Then goes diplomacy. Kiev and Warsaw strike a federal deal. Parts of Galicia and Volhynia join Ukraine as autonomous regions. The Western Ukrainian People's Republic becomes a full member of a federal Ukraine. Divided no more, Ukraine becomes United State. In 1921, Ukraine becomes a federal parliamentary republic. Simon Petlura is elected president and the parliament is seated in Kiev. The constitution acknowledges diversity. Ukrainian, Polish and Russian becomes official regional languages. Then comes the first major gamble: Crimea. As white resistance collapses, Ukraine launched Operation Tavria. Sevastopol and Simferopol fall swiftly. With French naval support, Crimea is secured and given special autonomous status under Kiev. But it doesn't stop there. In Bessarabia and Bukovina, pro-Ukrainian movements rise. Through careful diplomacy and under international supervision, a referendum is held in 1923. The vote passes and Romania, promised minority protections, accepts. Ukraine gains strategic southern territory without firing a shot. In 1924, Czechoslovakia tries recognition and transient rights for autonomy in Transcarpathia, which joins Ukraine peacefully. Then comes the Kuban. In 1925, famine and chaos hit the region. Cossack militias, backed discreetly by Ukraine, lead a rebellion. In 1926, a local council votes for annexation, and the referendum confirms it. Kuban joins Ukraine. So does the port city of Yeisk. By the end of the decade, Ukraine is no longer a fragile borderland. It's rising regional power with borders forged in war, diplomacy and rebellion. From the Carpathians to the shores of Caucasus, a new Ukraine has emerged. Not just alive, but triumphant. Ukraine is now the largest democratic nation in Eastern Europe. Then goes the Kiev Renaissance. It brings literature, philosophy and national revival. Kharkiv and Dnipro turn into industrial center. A central bank stabilizes the currency. Massive hydroelectric projects transform the Dnipro River. The military also modernize. 300,000 professional troops are trained with French and Czech help. New defense lines are built on the eastern frontiers. And naval bases expand in Crimea, shared with France. Ukraine signs defensive pact with Romania, Hungary and the Baltics. A security web stretched across Eastern Europe without Soviet control. But the storm is coming. So it's 1928. Stalin is consolidating power in Soviet Union, and right next door, a democratic Slavic republic thrives, and Stalin cannot allow that. He begins by targeting Ukraine from within. Soviet agents fund uprisings in Donbass, sabotage, protests and small-scale attacks. But Ukrainian forces are ready. The unrest is crushed swiftly. Public trials expose Soviet involvement. Ukraine responds by strengthening its intelligence services and tightening its borders. But there's something else Stalin can't ignore. Ukraine is not alone anymore. By the late 1920s, French and British officers are stationed in Kiev and Odessa. A Franco-Ukrainian naval base operates in Sevastopol, and an attack on Ukraine could spark a war with half of Europe. So instead, Moscow turns to propaganda. Posters, leaflets, broadcasts, all aimed to discrediting Ukrainian democracy. But it's too late. The idea is keep spreading all over Eastern Europe. Belarusian nationalists organize underground circles. In Georgia and Armenia, activists speak of their own Ukrainian moment. The dominoes Kiev has tipped over keep falling. The Soviet Union wastes years trying to contain the idea that Slavs too can live free. And quietly, Eastern Europe begins to tilt toward freedom. Yeah, it's not perfect, but more independent and more pluralistic. And maybe just a little bit freer. But this is what never happened.